The notion of an invasion of the United States has fascinated military analysts, historians, and the public for decades. Ever since the dawn of the Cold War, Americans have pondered whether their homeland could withstand a full-scale assault by a formidable adversary. Today, with the U.S. possessing one of the most advanced and heavily funded militaries in the world, the question still lingers. Is America truly unconquerable? With an annual defense budget of approximately $877 billion in 2022, the expectation is that such a sum secures not just the nation's military supremacy, but its territorial integrity as well. However, history provides a few instances of foreign incursions onto U.S. soil, though none amounted to a full-scale conquest. In examining America's vulnerability, it is worth looking back at instances when the U.S. faced foreign military threats. One of the earliest cases was the War of 1812, when the British launched an invasion, culminating in the burning of Washington, D.C. British troops torched the White House and Capitol, marking the only time a foreign power occupied the U.S. Capitol. Although this attack was more punitive than a conquest attempt, it exposed the young nation's military limitations. Nevertheless, the war ended with a treaty again in 1815, and American resilience prevailed, as seen in Andrew Jackson's decisive victory at the Battle of New Orleans. Another significant foreign military action on U.S. soil occurred during the Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848. After Mexican forces engaged American troops near the Rio Grande, the conflict escalated into a full-scale war. Mexico briefly occupied Brownsville, Texas, but the tables quickly turned as the United States launched a counteroffensive that saw U.S. troops capture Mexico City. The resulting Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo solidified U.S. territorial expansion, including vast swaths of what are now Texas, California, and the American Southwest. Fast forward to the early 20th century, and border skirmishes resurfaced, this time with Mexican revolutionary Pancho Villa leading raids into New Mexico. Villa's attack on Columbus in 1916 prompted the U.S. to dispatch a military expedition, led by General John J. Pershing, deep into Mexican territory. While Villa evaded capture, the incursion reaffirmed America's ability to respond swiftly to direct threats. Around the same time, during World War I, Germany sought to exploit U.S.-Mexico tensions by offering Mexico an alliance in the infamous Zimmerman telegram, promising the return of Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona if Mexico joined the war against the U.S. The intercepted message fueled U.S. entry into World War I, proving that even the mere suggestion of an invasion could provoke significant consequences. During World War II, while America's mainland remained untouched to Hawaii, a U.S. territory at the time, was attacked in the infamous 1941 Pearl Harbor strike. This meticulously planned assault by Imperial Japan devastated the U.S. Pacific Fleet, but it fell short of an occupation. Japan did, however, manage to seize the remote Aleutian islands of Attu and Kiska in Alaska in 1942, marking the only instance of an Axis power holding U.S. soil. After brutal combat, American and Canadian forces reclaimed the islands by mid-1943, reinforcing the notion that foreign occupations of U.S. territory would be short-lived and met with overwhelming force. The Cold War era intensified concerns about a Soviet-led invasion, though such fears never materialized. Instead, both nations engaged in proxy wars and espionage rather than direct military conflict. Still, the U.S. military formulated numerous defensive strategies, including the Strategic Air Command's doctrine of massive retaliation, which deterred any plausible invasion scenarios. Even today, Russia remains a theoretical adversary, but its ability to mount a direct invasion of the U.S. is logistically implausible due to geographical constraints and nuclear deterrence. China, another major global power, has also been scrutinized for its military ambitions. While China's growing naval capabilities raise concerns in the Pacific, an outright invasion of the U.S. mainland would be nearly impossible. The sheer distance, the necessity of controlling maritime supply lines, and the strength of U.S. defenses make such a campaign improbable. Military analysts at RAND Corporation and the Center for Strategic and International Studies (SIZE) argue that China's strategic focus is primarily regional, aimed at Taiwan and the South China Sea rather than intercontinental invasions, should a foreign military attempt an amphibious assault on U.S. soil. Experts widely agree that the defensive advantages favor the United States. With the world's most powerful navy, extensive air superiority, and a vast reserve of armed civilians, America possesses a unique combination of professional military forces an armed populace that would make occupation exceedingly difficult. Pentagon war games consistently highlight that any hostile landing on U.S. shores would face immediate devastation from airstrikes, naval bombardments, and counteroffensives from domestic forces. Beyond conventional military threats, modern warfare introduces unconventional risks. Cyber warfare, economic subversion, and disinformation campaigns have emerged as significant tools for weakening a nation's stability without traditional military engagements. Russian interference in elections, Chinese cyber espionage, and Iranian-backed proxy conflicts illustrate how adversaries seek to undermine U.S. power indirectly. The Pentagon and intelligence agencies like the NSA and CIA have ramped up countermeasures, recognizing that future conflicts may not involve traditional boots-on-the-ground invasions, but rather digital, economic, and ideological battles. While a large-scale invasion is highly unlikely, the biggest vulnerabilities America faces may come from within. Political polarization, economic instability, and internal unrest could weaken national unity, making the country more susceptible to external manipulation. A fractured society could, in theory, be more vulnerable to strategic sabotage rather than military conquest. The January 6th Capitol riot, widespread misinformation campaigns, and economic disruptions caused by foreign influence underscore how modern threats have evolved beyond the battlefield. Ultimately, America's vast geography, military strength, economic power, and nuclear deterrence make a successful invasion virtually impossible. History has shown that foreign attempts to breach U.S. sovereignty have been short-lived or repelled outright. Whether through military dominance, strategic alliances, or the resilience of its people, the United States has consistently demonstrated that it is not a nation easily subdued. The Pentagon remains vigilant, continuously assessing emerging threats. While direct invasions belong to historical hypotheticals rather than present realities, unconventional warfare has redefined modern conflicts. America's true test lies not in defending against an invading army,